Well, good afternoon. Welcome everybody to Ziegenfuss University. Now today's topic is good. You might think it's kind of odd, but it's very important. Today I'm going to be talking about God.
Imagine that.
God, right? Now, you would think we do this every Sunday, don't we? Well, we are Lutherans, and Lutherans are Christocentric. That means we're obsessed about Jesus. So we talk about Jesus all the time. And why is that? We begin today's service in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Jesus is the contact person with the Holy Trinity. Okay, the contact person. But we never talk about like God in general, or we seldom do. So today, talk about God in general. Now, if you talk to people on the street, about 70% of the public believes in God. Right? God, G-O-D, the big picture. Now, when you get into specific denominations, that's when you get into deviations. But most people believe in God. On the back of a dollar bill, it says, "In God we trust." Okay, that's the God we're talking about here. So this is we'll do the Holy Trinity in a couple of weeks on Trinity Sunday, and of course we talk about Jesus all the time. But this is just a class on God in general. God. What do you need to know to read the Bible? What do you need to know about God? So let's go. This is called theology proper. Okay? So theology proper. And the Greek word, I put a bunch of vocabulary words on here so you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay? And it's going to be a long introduction, and then once we know the vocabulary, we're going to plow into the technical details of this. So it's kind of interesting, actually. Okay, so let's start with this. Theos. Say the word. T-H-E-O-S. Theos. That means God or gods. Okay, God or gods. So the word theos means not just the Bible God that we talk about, but it also could apply to the Greco-Roman pantheon of gods. Okay, stop. Another word, pantheon. Pan is all or across. Theos is like all the gods. So if you go to Rome, they have the Roman pantheon. Anybody ever been there? I see it, on like history shows, and it's this large dome structure, and it's the largest dome built until the time of the Renaissance. So it's an amazing engineering achievement by the Romans. Remember, they invented cement that would set up underwater. So they have these tremendous structures. Well, the Roman pantheon contains all the gods. All right? So what do you call people who believe in many gods? Polytheistic. Polytheos. Okay, poly means many. Polytheos, many gods. Now, stop. What do you call people who believe in one God? Monotheos. One God. Monotheos. Now, I want us to stop and do this for a second. Take your hand like this, right? Right? These are the 5 major world religions. Why do you need to know this? Because you live in New York, right? Everybody lives in New York. You have to know about your neighbors in order to be a good neighbor. Love God, love your neighbor. You don't have to believe them. You don't have to believe the religion, but you have to know about them, right? Like don't schedule events on Jewish holidays, that kind of thing, okay? So here we go. Ready? What are the 5? Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Okay? I thought there are 5. There are. It's 3 and 5. You break it like this. Ready? The 3 great monotheistic religions. Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Do them in that order because that's chronological order. Help you remember that. Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Then you take a breath and you have Hinduism and Buddhism. Hinduism and Buddhism are pan and polytheistic religions. Pan and polytheistic. Okay? So let me talk about that real quick. We are monotheos, monotheistic. That means we believe this, the creator-creation dichotomy. What does the word dichotomy mean? Di means two, tome means cut it in two. Creator-creation dichotomy. Very important. Name the 3 monotheistic religions. Judaism, Christianity, Islam. You mean to say Islamic people believe in the creator-creation dichotomy? Yes, they do. So, Judaism, Christian, we believe Creator-creation dichotomy, extremely important. Now with Islam, you want to go like this. Take your hands like this and go like this. They put Allah way, 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 way up there, okay? Allah is so far removed that you don't pray to change Allah's mind. You accept the will of Allah. See that? It's because we're down here. We're creatures down here. And angels are also down here in Islam, okay? They go this way, back again. Creator-creation dichotomy. What's on the creature side? You, angels, fallen angels, animals, nature itself. That's the creation side. The creator side is separate. Now, if you flip over your handout, I have this extremely useful chart, and this comes from St. Augustine, City of God, St. Augustine. Extremely helpful. When I saw this illustration, it's like a light went on. Eureka, which is to say in the Grecian language, I have found it. Okay? So what is it? Eureka moment. This is, you put a dot, this is good for you to explain. You can draw this on a cocktail napkin. You explain to somebody on Cinco de Mayo, Joe will be at some bar drinking, a Corona beer, So you take out the cocktail napkin and you put a dot first, okay? The dot is the Earth or the solar system, and you draw a thing that looks like a scrambled egg on a frying pan or a roadkill. That is the known universe, okay? And that universe is 14.5 billion years old. That's like the latest science stuff. And the Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. Okay? Now, where's God? God, who created the universe, the dot with the roadkill design, God created that. Okay? So that's down here. Where's God? God is removed, separate from the creation. What do you mean? The creator-creation dichotomy. Okay, use the correct words when you explain this to people. Creator-creation dichotomy. So God is wholly removed from the creation. Okay? Now, does that help us understand God? Actually, it's a tremendous guide, right? And I've talked about this before in sermons and so on. That we live within the time and space continuum. Like we have, there's a past, present, and a future linear history like this, okay? God stands outside of linear history and time and space. He stands outside of it. So think about this for a moment. This is a big thought. What time is it right now? From our point of view, because we're down here, right? We're within the universe. What time is it?
It's a specific time.
Yeah, well, say the time. 1 what?
1 o'clock p.m.
Yeah, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, okay? And what is the date today? May the 3rd, 2021, A.D. Anno Domini, year of our Lord, okay? And where are we? 371 Wurtemberg Road, Rhinebeck, New York, and pew number, what pew are you there, Mike? Pew number? 27. Okay, pew number 27. So this is basically a GPS coordinate, okay? Now, can you go other places? Yeah, you can get up and go to Walmart, but you have to physically get up, get in your car, to drive over there, okay? Because we are limited to the time and space continuum. I can't say, okay, I'm going to zip on over to Norman, Oklahoma and watch a football game with my father on TV. Ready? 1, 2, 3, gone. No, we can't do that. We're limited to the time and space continuum. There's a past, a present, and a future. Where's God? God stands outside of the time and space continuum. So if you say to God, God, check on your Rolex. What time is it now? Well, God doesn't need a Rolex because he's outside of the time and space continuum. So for God, it's the past, present, and the future in the immediate moment, but there's no such thing as a moment. It's a huge idea, right? This is how Bobby and I can get along, because she believes in predestination, I believe in free will, or the other way around. I can't remember which side of the argument I'm on. I've been arguing for 25 years with her, and she's wrong, but I can't forget what side of the argument I'm on, right? No, so from God's point of view, it doesn't matter if you believe in free will or predestination, because from God's point of view, He knows the past, present, and future in this immediate moment. So there is no future, no past. There's nothing. He knows it all, past, present, and future. So when you talk about free will or predestination, that's our perspective down here. We're talking about it. You know, do I have free will or is it predestination? I don't know, because that's a down here time and space continuum thing. In eternity, the definition of eternity means outside of the time and space continuum. That's really a huge idea, okay? And so what happens to you when you die? You're absent from the body, present with the Lord. So you're sitting here, you're dead. The second you die, you are in eternity where there's no time and space continuum. Hello there.
Hi. She forgot part of the offering.
Oh, that's fine. All right. And you're the official runner, huh?
I am.
Yeah, okay, so the second you die, you are outside of the time and space continuum, right? You're no longer subject to time and space, and you are with God immediately. And how long do you stay there?
Forever.
No. You stay there until the last trumpet will sound and the dead in Christ will be raised incorruptible. But from your point of view, you're dead, boom, that's it. Next thing you know, you're risen from the grave. Like you're not going to be aware, I don't think, of a passage of time, because eternity, there is no time. It's really like a mind-boggling concept when you think about it. And this comes from St. Augustine. Okay? So, okay, any questions on that particular little thing? You can draw it on a cocktail napkin. Go ahead.
You always teach us upon death, absent from the body, present with the Lord. So whether Jesus has arisen yet or not,
no, Jesus
has come back or not, you're still with God.
That's right. Yeah, that's the important thing, isn't it?
And being with God is paradise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's forever.
Yes.
So we're not waiting for Jesus to come again.
Don't forget, in the Jewish world, the Jewish thinking, there's no such thing as a body and soul dichotomy. That's a Greek idea. So the idea that when you die, your body goes into the ground and you get angel wings or something and fly around. This goes back to our death discussion. Mm-hmm. So there is no such thing in the Jewish world as, what good does it do to be a spirit flying around? They're interested in the body and the spirit being united. The resurrection of the dead is the key idea. See? So that's why a cemetery is called the sleeping place.
Yeah, well, I don't think that jibes with what we're taught.
Oh, that's a Christian idea.
So I'm a little bit confused. So the people who are dead out there in the cemetery are
Yes.
still dead.
The bodies are in the ground,
But
and
they're not with the Lord yet.
and their spirit is with Jesus at this moment. But and they're waiting for the last trumpet to sound. The dead in Christ will be raised.
But their
So
spirit is
so between the time they died 200 years ago and the supposed second coming is right now, they're in eternity. So they're not aware of time and space passing. That's a down here concept.
But their spirit is with
Yes.
the Lord.
Yep. Until the resurrection of the dead, where the last trumpet will sound, and then they'll be reunited with their body again.
Okay.
So it's sort of like blink.
Why do they need their body?
Because God created the heaven and the earth, right? And the creation is good. The fall is messed up, and the whole story of the Bible is redeeming the world. Mm-hmm. And so the world is going to be paradise restored, or Eden restored. See?
So that's where we're going to be.
Yes, paradise restored. No death, no disease, no old age. You know.
I never thought we needed our body for that.
Yes, it's a Jewish idea. You know, the Greeks think that your body is a prison and you want to be liberated from it. So Socrates drinks the hemlock and he's liberated from his body. The body is an evil thing, but in Judaism, the body is a good thing, and that's one of the reasons why you respect the dead when they die. You give them a decent burial. You don't just leave somebody dead laying in the street. You handle the body with dignity and respect. That's a Jewish Christian idea, right?
There was one of the epistles by Paul, I'm not sure which one, where he goes to the third
Yes. Yeah.
And he said something about, that we do have physical bodies.
Mhm.
That, we're not just spirits
Mhm.
walking around or anything.
Yeah.
We have
And he talks about, he goes to the third heaven, he sees things that are unspeakable. There aren't human words to talk about it. That's a good way to understand God. Right? God is the opposite of everything we are. I'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. So if you want to think about God, it's our words break down when we try to describe God. The human vocabulary is not adequate. Poetry doesn't do it. Rap music doesn't do it. There's no way of describing God.
Well, somewhere in the Bible he says, God says, Jesus says, our ways are not your ways.
That's in Isaiah. It's true. Yeah. Well, I'll talk about that in 2 seconds. It's called the via negativa. So don't let me out of here without talking about that. Okay? So, all right, let's keep going on our definitions here. Is a Greek word, letter, and it means no or negation. So if you combine no, and theos, no theos, theos, what does that mean? Atheist. An atheist is an atheos person who says there are no God or gods. So a consistent atheist does not believe they reject the Old Testament, the New Testament, but they also reject all gods, Greco-Roman gods. They reject witchcraft, Satanism, they reject all spiritual things. Okay? So a consistent atheist would say no God or gods. Okay, so they reject the whole platform. Okay? And how about this one? Gnosis, Gnosis, that means deep knowledge, right? Profound insight, deep knowledge. So if you say agnosis, agnostic, it means no, K-N-O-W. I don't know. I don't have enough information to say if there are God or gods. I don't know. Okay? So I would say of the two, agnostic people would be more intellectually honest because they would say, I'm down here, the gods are up there, I don't have any knowledge of that, so I can't have a dogmatic opinion. Many atheists they're dogmatic about what they know that there is no God, and they're willing to burn your house down to prove it. Okay? So militant atheists have a particular attitude. They want to wipe out organized religion, no God or the gods, take God off the dollar bill, and get God out of this public sphere completely. So the difference between a militant atheist and agnostic would just say, I don't have enough knowledge one way or another. If it makes you feel good, go ahead and do it. It's not for me. So see the difference? Okay? All right, this is creator-creation dichotomy, theos, okay? So this is the hand signal. This is the hand signal for polytheism. Polytheism. Notice, there's no creator-creation dichotomy in polytheism, and in Hinduism, there are 330 million gods. Okay? So that's polytheism. And one of the things that's really confusing, when you go to India, it's hard to keep track of all the gods. They have everywhere you look, there's little altars, like a little shrine over here and a shrine over there. And by Indian law, if a Hindu holy man says, Joe, your front yard is a holy spot, they're allowed to put a little shrine there, and you have to just suck it up and take it. You can't say, well, that's my private property. You can't. No, it's a Hindu shrine. You can't. Right? So there are these shrines all over the place. Remember, Paul goes to Mars Hill in Athens, and he says, I perceive that you are very religious. The people in India are very religious. Okay, there's shrines everywhere. Okay, and so that's called polytheism. And one of the peculiar aspects of polytheism, if you make this move from creator-creation dichotomy to this, it also incorporates pantheism. Okay, so what's the definition of pantheism? Pantheism is all is God, God is all. All is God, God is all. So if you take God away from up here and put him in here, God is in nature. Nature is God, God is nature. All is God, God is all. So when two Hindus meet on the street, what do? They do this. Okay? And I gave the lecture to some Indian Christian ministers, and I said, knock it off. Right? Because when you do this, You are acknowledging that the other, I like Mike Davis, great guy and everything, but I don't do this because I'm acknowledging that Mike is a God. Mike's a God, Linda's a God, Joe's a God, everybody, Pam's a God, right? That's what they're doing. It isn't just they're showing respect for the person, they are making a religious statement, a pantheistic religious statement. All is God and God is all. And of course, what's the big problem with pantheism and polytheism? Well, the problem of evil. Okay? So what do you do in the Jewish Christian world? Islam, same thing. Where's evil?
Created.
Evil's over on this side. Evil is like rust on iron. Evil is a parasite. Evil cannot exist without the good. You have to have good in order for it to grab onto and corrupt it. Mold, rust, decomposition, that's evil. Okay? So evil is not its own thing. It's dependent on the host in order to survive. Okay? Whereas in Hinduism, there is no good is evil. Good is evil and evil is good. They're interchangeable because if God is all and all is God, well, God is evil and God is good at the same time. So how does that work then? Well, you're walking down the street, and I've seen it myself. There's like a guy laying in the street, covered in sores, like half naked, maybe has like a loincloth or something on, laying in the street like twitching, sick. What do? You step over him and keep walking. Because they have a thing called karma, and they have another thing, the caste system, where if you're born as an untouchable, a Dalit person, you have to pay for the sins of your previous life, reincarnation, which is a part of pantheism, polytheism, and you have to suffer the full extent because you're paying for your sins. Mm-hmm. And if you suffer in a noble way, then you are reincarnated. You might come back as a higher caste person. And once you work through the system, it might take many, 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 many lifetimes. You become a Brahmin. And what's the key of becoming a Brahmin? Well, then you are absorbed like a drop of water being placed into the ocean. Mm-hmm. So they don't have a concept like we do of resurrection of the dead, or your individual soul is saved from, they don't have that. So the idea is to break the endless cycle of reincarnation and be absorbed into it, which is, the big God. Right? So the point of reincarnation is to achieve nirvana, which is oblivion, which is you're no more suffering, you're gone. Mm-hmm. So the world is a place of suffering and death, and you're not allowed to alleviate human suffering, because if you do, you're interfering with the karma of that person. I mean, it's really a strange system, and that's only possible with pantheism and polytheism. You can't have that with creator-creation dichotomy. Okay, so that works? Okay. So let's do a couple other ones here. What is theism again? God is the creator and the sustainer of the cosmos. You got that? Okay. So, do we like God? Yes, we do. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. We like God. Okay, we like God a lot. But the miracle, the best thing about God, and I think people don't really think about this a whole lot, is that He is the sustainer of the cosmos. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? It's one thing to create it. The hard part is sustaining it. Yeah. We have a big problem in Freemasonry, don't we? The creators, back in the 1920s, when they had a lot of money, built a lot of fabulous Masonic temples. Yeah. Unfortunately, they're not sustainable because they didn't set up a program where they had a fund, let's say, that would keep the building up and keep the property going. It's easy to be a creator. It's hard to be a sustainer. Mm-hmm. You see? That's why here at this church, I get after everybody. What do? One big thing a year to keep the old place going. This building's built in 1802. If we don't keep up with the maintenance, you're going to have 50 years of deferred maintenance, and the only solution is to bulldoze the place. See? Yeah. So God is a creator. That's good. We like God. but he's also the sustainer. That's the miracle. The fact that the sun came up today, the fact that it was a nice sunny day yesterday, but it's going to rain today. We need rain to drive nature and make all these beautiful leaves blossom and the flowers, the tulips and daffodils, everything is returned to life. About a month ago, you look at nature, you wouldn't be too optimistic about it, would you? It's like everything's dead, right? There's no sign of life at all. And all of a sudden, everything is coming back to life again. That's God at work, the sustainer. It's delicious when you think about it. So we believe that God is the creator and the sustainer of the cosmos. So the fact that, the sun orbits around, the earth orbits around the sun, and the planets are here, and the precision required to make it work is unbelievable. If the planets were orbiting, say, like 1/10 of a microsecond off, then the whole thing would like fall apart. Yeah. It's like a delicately balanced system. The whole universe is that way. So it's an astonishing thing. When the more you watch the Nature Channel, the more you understand about science and geology and geography, the more respect you have for the sustainer. Mm-hmm. It's an astonishing thing when you think about it, right? So that's theism. So what is deism? Deism, God is the creator, okay? Do we know any deist documents? Yeah, we do. The Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Where do your rights come from? They come from the creator. So at the beginning of the creation, God gave us human rights. Okay? So the rights don't come from the state, they come from God, our creator. Now, who's a deist? Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, the founders of our nation were deists. Well, what's a deist? A deist, they celebrate the creator, God. We like God, okay? But they say that he's not the sustainer. Okay, what does that mean? Well, think of like Sir Isaac Newton and the mechanical universe. So God created this model, like gears grinding away, right? So in God's creation is made back then, and that's it.
He walks away.
So what do deists do? If Uncle Fred has some terminal disease, what do you do about Uncle Fred? Here's what you do. You say, we thank God for the life of Uncle Fred, but you don't pray to a deist God for Uncle Fred to be healed. No. Because the deist God is up there. It's kind of like Islam, radically removed from the cosmos down here. So in other words, they do this, except way up there. So deism, you don't have deist prayers for healing of people. That's a theistic idea. Because the God who's the creator and the sustainer is also the God that's capable of bringing healing to people. Okay? So it's very interesting. Okay, so deism, I throw this in there because it's important to know. A lot of people you run into, the religion of the streets, they're deists. They'll say, I believe in God, but that's about it. They don't really think about the sustainer part of it. The fact that your heart beat through the night and you woke up alive today, that's a pretty good thing. Right? That's God being a sustainer. Okay? So they don't believe that. So they don't believe God intervenes in history. In other words, okay. We talk about pantheism, polytheism. Now, let me talk about polytheism a little bit. Polytheism is the de facto norm for the ancient Near East. So, who is a polytheistic person in the ancient Near East? Let me see. The Egyptians,
everyone.
The Canaanites, the Amorites, the Babylonians, the Neo-Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Greeks. So Hinduism has an affinity with all of these polytheistic religions that are active in and around Israel. Israel is the lone exception. Israel is a monotheistic religion, and all their neighbors are polytheistic. It's amazing. Okay? Now, why is that important to know? Because when you read the Old Testament, You'd be like, wow, these people have real issues here. They have problems, don't they? Well, like what? Ready? Psalm 14, verse 1 says, the fool has said in his heart there is no God. Okay? So basically in the ancient world, they don't have atheists. Everybody is religious of one way or another. Either you're a polytheist or you're a monotheistic, you follow the teachings of the Old Testament. So again, what's the first commandment? Now, the 10 Commandments is an excellent home plate. When you talk to people, you have your sword and you have a shield, okay? Offense and defense. The best thing you can do is to study the 10 Commandments and really know what they say. First of all, where do you find the 10 Commandments? In Exodus chapter 20, beginning with verse 1. Right, 10 Commandments, okay? And let's read this. And God spoke these words. Stop. Who is this God in the Old Testament? He's the Creator, okay? God is a talker. God talks, okay? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. God spoke the cosmos into existence through talking. That's really important. What do the polytheistic gods believe? Well, they believe that Tiamat, it's the Babylonian god, is engaged in a war and he kills her brother or something. There's a big battle, and the dead body of Tiamat is the land, and the blood is the sea. In other words, the creation is a result of combat among the gods. It's like a bloody, warlike type of religion. And so all these polytheistic religions are based, the God doesn't speak things into creation. The Latin phrase is ex nihilo. Ex nihilo, it means out of nothing, right? So God speaks it into creation, okay? So let me talk something else quick about pantheism, polytheism. The polytheistic gods are capricious and arbitrary. What does that mean? Well, they do whatever they want, okay? Do they care about people? No. Mortals are considered like the playthings of the gods. This is like Greek mythology. So a mortal is just sort of, like a fly here, and you go like that, you kill the fly. So the Greek gods they use human beings to kick them around and abuse them, and they don't care about it. They do whatever they want, okay? So as a human, what do you do when you have a pantheon of thousands of capricious, arbitrary gods? What do? You try to keep them happy through do what? You build a temple and you sacrifice an animal. The classic example would be Poseidon, Neptune, okay? You're going on a Caribbean cruise, let's say. Well, before you leave, you go to the temple of Neptune or Poseidon and you offer a bloody sacrifice. And then you kill the ox, blood all over the place, and you take the carcass of the ox and throw it on the pile and you light it on fire and it burns, because the gods love two things: the smell of fresh blood, and they love burnt. They love barbecue. So those two things. So Poseidon's going to go like this. Wow, look at that. So Poseidon is going to be fixated on the blood and the smoke, while you silently slip away and get into the boat and go on your cruise. If the gods notice you're on the Mediterranean Sea, you're not supposed to be there, he'll send a storm and kill you. So if somebody gets lost at sea, well, obviously Poseidon was angry with you. There's nothing you can do about it. You sacrifice, but evidently it wasn't enough of a sacrifice. So you never quite know if you've appeased the gods sufficiently to get away with having a peaceful cruise. You see? And all the gods are that way. So you have to appease these gods. And the gods are capricious and arbitrary, and they act at random, right? So what does that do for you as a human being? It makes you afraid, phobia. You're going to be paralyzed by fear. Are you going to go on a cruise? Are you going to go on the ocean? No, I don't think so. It's not worth the risk. Are you going to, what are you going to do? You're probably going to stay at your little village there and hope the gods don't notice you. Because if you have too much of an attitude, right, too much hubris, the gods will whack you down where you belong. They'll keep you humble. Isn't it amazing? So you're always in a state of fear. So people who are polytheistic are very superstitious. So they have like little talismans, they carry around with them, like little tokens of things, The evil eye, what's the evil eye? It's an eye, right? And you make jewelry out of it. Why is that? Because the evil eye, the evil people that are out there, the gods, will be attracted to the eye. Gods like blue eyes, so they'll be attracted to the blue eye instead of sending the evil eye to you. So it deflects the evil eye so they're superstitious. Right? Is this true? It's a ridiculous thing. But this is what people believe in the ancient Near East. Right? So they're very superstitious. They live in fear all the time. That's why when people in the New Testament, Paul preaches to these pagans, a pagan is a person who's a polytheistic person, and they're liberated from the fear. In India, the Dalit people are the people that respond to the preaching of the gospel because they're liberated. They're treated worse than American slaves back in the 1840 in the Deep South. That Dalit people have it really, really bad. They're discriminated, and it's allowed. Everybody discriminates against them. They're treated like scum of the earth. But when they become a Christian, guess what? All that Hindu superstition is out the door, and they believe in the one true God. And with Christianity, remember, everyone is equal before God. There is no caste system. Right? Extremely important. So there are implications for God. What do we think about God? There are implications for that. Okay? So polytheism, they're capricious, right? One other quick one. What is henotheism? Henotheism is you worship a single God, okay? And you do not deny the existence of the other gods. So you're polytheistic, but you worship one God in particular. So you see this in India. There'll be a huge temple, and it's for Kali, let's say. Well, they still acknowledge the other 330 million Hindu gods, but this is the hot spot, the axis mundi for Kali. Okay? And we would, an example here. Okay? We come to St. Paul's, Wurtemberg, and we worship here, we have word and sacrament, we take communion, we have baptisms here. But then when you get away, the power of the Wurtemberg God diminishes the farther you get away. So it's kind of like the FM signal on the radio. If you can see the antenna, but then when you get maybe down a block about a mile, the signal fades out, and then there's another God. The Hyde Park God takes over. That's called henotheism. Okay? So that's a function of polytheism. Okay? So that's kind of an interesting thing. All right, and then let's do this one. Yahweh, YHWH. What is that? It's called the Tetragrammaton. The tetra is the four letters. And this is called the ineffable name of God. Orthodox Jews do not say the name Yahweh when they read it in the Bible. Instead, they use a substitute word, Adonai, right? And then that word in the 16th century, they took vowels and they inserted the vowels into the YHWH, and they came up with Jehovah. So Jehovah's Witnesses, they insist that's God's name. No, that's a 16th century construction. So Moses didn't know who Jehovah was. That's a latter-day invention. Okay? So we think that it's pronounced Yahweh, YHWH. Okay? And you don't say this when you're in the presence of Orthodox Jews out of respect for them. Right? Do not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Okay? Okay? So let's go back here to the first commandment. Okay? What is the first commandment? God spoke these words. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. First, if you read the Bible, the Old Testament, you're going to be deeply disappointed. There are no formal proofs for the existence of God. God just is. There isn't 5.5 chapters at the beginning of the Bible that offer formal proofs for the existence of God. In fact, come back next week, I'm going to do that. Formal proofs for the existence of God. Right? Philosophers have come up with over the years. It's kind of interesting and useful. But in the Bible, God just is. Right? He's a reality, he's a fact. That's it. God just is. There is no formal lecture on, so people say things like, what was God doing before he created the heaven and the earth? Well, we don't know. Okay?
Don't have to know.
Yeah, I was talking to Linda about this, and she was driving and she had to like pull the car over and beat me with a stick because she thought it was like some horrible idea here. So in the Kabbalah, they believe that God is absolute, pure holiness. Okay? So what did God have to do when he created the heaven and the earth? Okay, so God is absolute holiness. God had to reduce his power and limit himself. He had to sacrifice himself in order to create the cosmos, which I think is a fascinating thing. God had to like reduce himself in order to cause the creation. That's kind of a neat thing. And of course, as Christians, we would say, Jesus, who is God, reduced himself. He took on human flesh and died for us on the cross. Well, the Creator did the same basic thing in creating the cosmos. I think it's a delicious thought. And of course, I'm right and Linda's wrong, just like Bobby's wrong. All right.
That's real squishy, Pastor Mark.
Yeah, Joe.
About 2 years ago, I read someplace where the Earth's axis was changed by 2 degrees. Have you heard that?
Yeah, there's even people that say that the poles reversed at some point, back thousands of years ago.
So God would say, I made a mistake?
Well, no, it might be a natural thing. I mean, it's a natural progression. Like we have 27 ice ages that we know of, where the glaciers come and go and come and go and come and go. And the Great Lakes are formed by the ice age ending and the water filling up the voids.
Gotcha.
So it's just part of the, God. So who is this God? There's no proof he's a God. I am the Lord your God. Who is he? Who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. So the God who created the heaven and the earth intervened in history and took these non-persons, these slaves out of Egypt, after 430 years of slavery, and he extracted them, and they become God's chosen people. They become, they end up in Israel. Okay? So that's who this God is. The God of the Old Testament is the God who acts, right? He's not a God who just sits around and eats bonbons at Mount Olympus or something. So the God of the Bible, the monotheistic God, is the God who acts. Okay? And that's his identity, in fact. That's his identity. Like, that's his New York State driver's license. He's the God who took us out of Egypt, right? Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering, why does the God of the Old Testament appear to be so much less loving than God of the New Testament?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the answer is God balances justice and mercy. Okay? So what kind of a God would it be if it was all merciful and forgiving? You could do whatever you want. Like, would you have, I asked my students this, are you in favor of the death penalty?
Go ahead.
Just say it. Somebody say, I object, I don't believe in the death. Say that.
No.
Okay? And the students will say that. Okay. What do you do with the 21 top Nazis at the Nuremberg trials? 11 of them were sentenced to death. They were hanged, right? Well, is that a legitimate use of the death penalty?
Well, they probably say, what Nuremberg trial?
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? If you kill one person,
Yeah.
that's okay, but if you kill like 5 million, then that's worse? Or, no, murder is murder. And so, so what kind of a God would it be if you'd say, hey, Nazis, I understand. I understand your outrage against Jews and gypsies, and yeah, it's okay. We'll just look the other way and forgive you this time. Here's your letter of pardon. Nice try. No, so justice and mercy has to be balanced, and it's like on the head of a pin, right? So justice doesn't mean kill everybody. Justice means you temper it with mercy, and that's why we have judges in our legal system. We have juries. We have appeals. We have due process to make sure justice and mercy are balanced. And I try to think of God that way, that he balances. So there are instances like in the Old Testament. What do you do with the Amalekites? Yeah, why? Well, the Amalekites were warned by the prophets for over 700 years. What were they told? Knock it off. Stop taking your children to Gehenna and heating the Molech statue up red hot and dropping the baby in the lap of Molech. They practiced infant sacrifice. And they were told 700 years, well, at a certain point, it's like, would you pull the lever at Nuremberg? I would. And same thing. So God uses the Hebrews as a sword to punish the Amalekites who were slaughtering infants and violating the 7 precepts of Noah. I'll talk about that another time. It's like the 10 Commandments, right? And God wrote this in the heart of people. So part of being a civilized person is you don't murder, you don't steal, you don't do incest, and how about Israel? Are they exempt from being punished for their misdeeds? Well, they become apostate. They worship the polytheistic gods, right? They sacrifice their children to Molech. They did all the abominations of the Amalekites and the Canaanites and all that stuff. So God sent the Babylonians to burn down their temple and teach them a lesson. So all modern day Jews are descended from, they survived the tribe of Judah. They survived the Babylonian captivity. And after the Babylonian captivity, 586 BC, they're monotheistic, believe me. Before that, they practiced synchronicity. That means we worship Yahweh, but just to be careful, we'll worship Baal. You want to worship like the god of the place, you want it to rain. So Yahweh would be like the shepherd god in the wilderness. Baal is like the farm god. If you want to grow grapes in Cana, you have to sacrifice to Baal. So after the Babylonian captivity, guess what? No more synchronicity, no more polytheism. It's one God, right?
Thank you, that helped.
Yeah, it requires sort of like read the whole Bible in context and kind of, some of the stuff for us is kind of shocking when we read it, But then again, I teach European history, or I did, Did I tell you I'm retired now? No. No. And you read about World War II, and it makes your head explode. The Japanese, starting in 1931, invaded Manchuria, and they went on to kill 20 million Chinese people. 20 million. And Hitler and Stalin went at it in Eastern Europe, and 20 million Russians are killed, 3 million Polish Catholics, 3 million Polish Jews are killed. They did the Holocaust. It's like the Bloodlands between Hitler and Stalin going at it. And it's like, what's the difference between Hitler and Stalin, those maniacs, and say Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon? Nebuchadnezzar was more humane. He didn't kill 100 million people. I mean, it's amazing, So anyway, you have to kind of be careful when you're, I'm so outraged at the atrocities of the Old Testament. Oh yeah? What do you say about the firebombing of Tokyo, where 100,000 people were burned to death in 6 hours? Worse than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What do you do about that? Oh, well, we're much humane now. We're enlightened now. Yes, we've evolved. We're higher. Yeah, sure you are. Yeah. That's why when you read the Bible, you should not be surprised at anything people do. Yeah. Right? Because it's a record of people's sins falling short of what God wants them to do. So there are some noble people, Jesus and the prophets and so on, but there are also some really nasty people in there. Just like real life. Right? So you read the Bible, you shouldn't be surprised oh, I'm surprised that Hitler behaved in such a, antisocial way, Well, yeah, that's the way maniacs act. Right? Okay? So he's the God that took us out of slavery in Egypt. And ready? You shall have no other gods before me. Now, that's an example of henotheism, isn't it? No other gods, lowercase g? Well, does that mean that there are other gods?
Depends on who you are.
Well, the God of the Bible is a jealous God. There's one God, monotheism. The other gods are non-gods. They're non-existent. However, you have to have a statement like this because your neighbor is a polytheistic person. So you have to say, no polytheism. We're monotheistic. Extremely important. And you should not make yourself an idol in any form. Right? In heaven above, or the earth beneath, or the waters below. You should not bow down and worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. All right, stop. Why do, when you go to India, you see statues all over the place, right? They have a statue thing. Are they worshiping the statue, the idol? No. They're worshiping the God who's behind the image of the statue. They're worshiping, the image is a reminder of the God that's behind it. Okay? And what's wrong with a statue? What's wrong with an image? It reduces God to, Ganesha, the elephant with the fat boy with the elephant head on it. That's Ganesha, right? Is that what God looks like? No, you can't take the God who created the heaven and the earth and reduce him to a picture, right? And you don't make a statue, right? Isaiah mocks the idol. They make a statue, they chisel it out, and then they bow down and worship it. Well, somebody made the statue that you are worshiping. That's kind of stupid, isn't it? You should worship the guy who made the statue, not the statue that the guy made. See? So no idol worship, right? Extremely important. Why? Because it reduces God. You don't want to reduce God, ever. Okay? All right. And then, this is related. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. And the word Lord is Yahweh. For the Yahweh does not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Okay? So these are all, the first 3 commandments tell you how to get along with God. The second 7, how to get along with each other, your neighbors. Love God, love your neighbor. That's why the 10 commandments are key. Okay? So, all right, let's go to work on this one. Via negativa. How do we think about God? You take a mirror, you look in the mirror, and you have to be honest. You have to say, who am I? I was born, I live, I'm going to die. You have a past, a present, and a future. What's the opposite of that?
God.
God is infinite. You are finite. Okay? Unfortunately, today people, they deny death so they think they're going to live forever. Right? No. If you have to be honest and say, I have limited time here, and I want to make sure I make good use of my finite time. Okay? My students, they don't understand the semester ends, like on April 28th, your work has to be in during that finite time. We don't have infinite time to get our work in, do we? Is that weird? Or this one, via negativa. Where are we? We're at Wurtemberg, pew number 27 at the date. What's the opposite of that?
Infinity.
God can be multiple places at multiple times. He's not limited to time and space like we are. Okay? That's called the via negativa. That's a really useful way to think about God. It's the opposite of you. Think of you, God is the opposite. Okay? Why? Creator, creation, dichotomy. Okay? You're over here. You're not here. You're not God. Okay? What's the first commandment? You shall know the gods before me. You're not God. God is God, and you're not. You're over here. Do people like hearing that? No, they don't like to be reminded that they're not gods. Right? What are the 2 lies of the serpent in the Garden of Eden? Thou shalt not die. That's reincarnation. And thou shalt be as gods. People think they're little gods. Huh? Well, when they drive down the street, how do they act? They act like they're gods, like they're the only person around.
Because of their
And you're
ignorance.
supposed to serve those gods. See?
They have ignorance.
Yeah, well, not only do they have ignorance, they don't want to know, do they?
True.
If you roll in the window and say to them, hey, buddy, who do you think you are, God? And they'll probably say, matter of fact, I do. Get out of my way. Right? Okay, so let's do some attributes of God. Okay, sorry, another. Holy other. Right? This is a guy named Rudolf Otto wrote a book back in the 1930s, and he describes God as the holy other. So again, you start with you. God is the other. Okay? God is the other. God is holy, and we are profane. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Okay? God is holy. God doesn't sin. Jesus is a man without sin. Okay? Holy, profane dichotomy goes with the creation dichotomy. Holy other. It means you're over here. Okay? Let's do attributes of God. This comes from philosophy of religion, which is what we're doing today. Okay? Philosophy of religion. Okay? God is omnipotent. What does that mean? Unlimited power. Okay, is that sort of important? God does whatever God wants to do. What do? You're limited, you're powerless, basically. Yeah, you're powerless. You know, try going out without a mask and see what happens to you. You're powerless. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Okay? You're powerless. God, however, does whatever God wants to do. Is that sort of an important thing? The first law of Lutheran theology, we do not explain the hidden things of God. What is that? We do not explain the hidden things of God. Oh, Uncle Fred died and he never walked the aisle at a Billy Graham rally and made a public profession of Christ. I'm worried about Uncle Fred's eternal soul or salvation. Guess what? You don't know. You don't know. You have no idea. Who are you? You're not God. God does whatever God wants to do. God can save whoever he wants. It's up to God. So don't spend evenings fretting and worrying about Uncle Fred. Ready? Who should you worry about? You should worry about you. Look in the mirror. Sinner? Right? Are you right with God?
But prayer moves the hand of God. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. But the time to be concerned about Uncle Fred is when he's alive. Did you visit him? No, I just want to inherit all of his money. Yeah. So, I mean, the time to be a decent person is when Uncle Fred's alive. And, but don't waste your time and energy speculating about is somebody saved or somebody not saved. When the Bible says, judge not, thou shalt not be judged, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about people's salvation. Because you don't know someone's heart. Right? You think you know somebody? You don't know anybody. Who knows? God knows, doesn't he? God knows everybody's heart. Right? Ideally, I'd like you to come to church. Ideally, I'd like you to take Holy Communion. Ideally, I'd like you to read the Bible. I'd like you to believe in the Bible. That would be a really good thing. Right? But again, don't speculate about people. You don't know about them.
It's between them and God.
You're exactly right. Don't explain the hidden things of God. And we spend a lot of time and energy fretting about that stuff. You have no control over that. Right? God has unlimited power. He can do whatever he wants. And again, guess what? God does do whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. Does he consult you? Mike, I want to check with him, make sure it's okay before I... No. God does whatever God wants to do, and that's why we worship God. He's the absolute. Pure holiness, God's the absolute. God has limitless knowledge. This is a great one. I'm an atheist. There is no God. How do you know, moron? Right? Albert Einstein said he used 4% of his brain. Is Albert Einstein smarter than you are? Yeah, just a little. One of the highest IQs recorded. So you, genius, you know all there is to be known about the cosmos, and you're going to make the dogmatic statement, there is no God. Well, you don't have enough information to make a statement like that. However, God has limitless knowledge. Okay, got that? And you, what's the opposite of limitless knowledge?
Us.
Yeah. Finite humans, we're limited. You'd be like, instead of being in this room, you'd be standing outside looking through the keyhole, trying to describe what's on this side of the room. You don't have enough knowledge to make a statement about what's here. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's even more so when it comes to talking about God. Well, if you want to know about God, what do? Well, that's why you read the Bible, because the Bible is a book that tells you about God. God, who created the heaven and the earth, revealed himself to certain writers, inspired writers who wrote this down, so that you know everything you need to know about salvation. Not everything you need to know or would like to know. Got that? So the Bible's a great book, but it doesn't tell you things like, I'm in Brooklyn and I want to order a pizza. What's the phone number? That's the yellow pages. The Bible doesn't contain all world knowledge or information, but it tells you everything you need to know for salvation. See? What else? God has limitless goodness, omnibenevolent. God is good, God is love. Right? That's one of the reasons why don't explain the things of God. God is good. Leave it up to God to take care of the situation. You're not in charge of that stuff, right? Don't try to micromanage God. What happens when you try to micromanage God? It's like, oh, I'll never drink again if you get me out of this throwing up in the porcelain throne here. You know, I mean, you're trying to control nature and control God by making a deal with God. God doesn't make deals. You know the right thing to do. If you do the wrong thing, well, don't be surprised if you pay for it. See what I mean? Okay? He's omnipresent. In other words, he's not bound by space. He transcends the time and space continuum. That's our little diagram that I drew. So we're outside of time and space, right? That's awesome when you think about it. Eternity, he's not bound by time. Okay? Unity, God cannot be divided. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verses 4 and 9. This is like the creed of Judaism. It's called the Shema, S-H-E-M-A. Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one. How many gods in Israel? One, monotheism. Jews are not polytheistic, and we're not either. Okay? Simplicity. God is not a composite. So God is not like a snowball rolling down the hill that picks up stuff along the way. God doesn't evolve or develop. God is God. God is the absolute. He's the creator. Right? He's not made up of other gods that are picked up along the way. He's not material. He doesn't have a body. Okay? So God is a spirit. Right? Now, when we get into Christology, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That's what's remarkable about Jesus, the incarnation. Okay, but that's another story for another time. He's not subject to change. Does God evolve and change over time? No. Right? God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That's a good thing. You know, it's like, we changed the rules. Every, January 1st, all the new laws come into effect, you know. They passed like 914 laws, you know. I love it now that you're allowed to smoke marijuana, but you can't smoke menthol cigarettes.
It's ridiculous.
They're on top of that one. So evidently, cigarette smoking in public is a bad thing, but smoking marijuana is okay. We don't mind that. So these are like human laws, right? So they're always changing all the time. God doesn't, you're not going to say like, January 1st, guess what? Thou shalt not murder is amended. It's just the people with red hair you're allowed to murder. I mean, so God doesn't change, right? And that's a good thing. Impassible. God is absolutely independent of any other being and is no way a causal dependent. So in other words, God wasn't created or made by another God that we don't know about. Okay? God has always been, God just is. God is, that's it. Right? There is no like pre-God or forerunner to God like there is in Greek mythology, right? You know, the Olympian gods, I think, are the third generation of the gods. You know, the Titans and then the, Kronos and all that stuff. It's very complicated. But the God of the Bible is not, he just is, okay? And then let me close with this, and then we'll do Who's the God next week. All right? When you think about God, all right, God is both transcendent and immanent. Now, what does that mean? Transcendent means up there. Immanent means down here. So we say things like, where two or more are gathered in his name, I am present with you, the immanence of God. Okay? God is present with people who are suffering. Okay? But God is also transcendent. Okay? So, and he's both at the same time. Okay? So, what is this? Well, this God, who is transcendent, let me read the footnote here. God, Yahweh, is apart. He's the Holy One of Israel. And what's the opposite of holy? Profane. So God is transcendent and apart, but he's also here with us here, okay? And do I have a footnote for that one? Yeah. Yet, Yahweh is with his people. He brings joy, comfort, and assurance. And ultimately, he brings redemption and salvation from our sins through Jesus. So he's transcendent and immanent at the same time. Very important. The Greco-Roman gods are radically transcendent. Islam, Allah is transcendent so far that he's up there that he has nothing to do with the people down here. See? But our God is engaged in both at the same time. You have to do a higher level thinking with this. And in the Old Testament, there are more than 1,000 names for God. And why is that a good thing? Because God cannot be put into a box. In the ancient world, if you know the name of the deity, you control the deity. So I've talked about this before. You're walking through the Arabian desert, all of a sudden you bump into this lamp and you pick it up and you rub it, and a genie comes out of the lamp. What's the first thing you want to do? You want to say, what is your name? Make him tell you your name. Because if you know the name of the genie, then you control the genie. Same, so that's a principle in comparative religion. So if you know the name of the God, you control the God. So that's why our God has God in general, but God has multiple names. El, Elohim, El Elyon, Beth El, I mean God is present here, El Elyon, El Shaddai, right? And so why does God use all of these names in the Bible? Why all these names in the Bible? Well, to distinguish himself as the God of Israel, who led the people from slavery out of Egypt, right? From all the other would-be deities that are, all their neighbors are polytheistic. So everybody's a polytheist, and you're like a little island in the middle here. So you have to have specific names so that he's the God of gods. He's the God of the heavens. He's the God Almighty. He's the God Most High. He's Almighty and Most High God, and he's Lord of the hosts, Lord of the armies. So we have all these descriptors for God, but we don't have a name where we control God. Why? Because God is sovereign. He is our shepherd, and we are his sheep. God is the groom, and we are the bride. God is the master, we are the students. Extremely important, okay? So what did we talk about today? This is called theology proper. What about God? What about God? And next week I'm going to go through some of the formal proofs that this is the God that philosophers have offered down through the centuries, which is mildly interesting. So go ahead, Sylvia.